Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for what is mistakenly labeled as round 3, but in reality is round 4, the win and in round. We have a very interesting situation developing, which is that both of these gentlemen are 2 and 1, and based on the number of people that are here, they have elected to draw into, I think they have done the math, they can draw in the top 8. Did anyone see which one? Was it rock, paper, or scissors?
I did not see.
After the match, we will need to get confirmation on that, so I can keep.
So they're just playing for fun.
I have talked these gentlemen into playing for fun because the other win and in rounds are one gentleman that does not like to play under the camera. That's the one that would actually be the win and in, and then the other ones are competitors who have already played on the camera tonight. And will probably be in the top 8 anyway. So
these guys are just playing for glory.
This is for glory. Although it's there is a scenario in which I don't play enough like top tier events to have any idea. This turns stuff off. I want to send a tweet. I don't have enough like experience playing like tier 1 events to know the math really well, but I'm pretty sure that they can both draw in. Does it always lose it when it shuts off? Because I was using my wife's laptop last week, and it was constantly losing connection here as well.
It's also like being real sluggish when it comes back from idle.
You probably had a hard night drinking last night.
Probably.
So Brandon Hart is on the left. He's played before. He played like a Frights type deck a couple weeks ago. Tonight he's playing a green-white mid-range deck, which is just the name I've given to it, but it is basically every good green and white creature, which I think we've talked about, I think could be a good archetype going forward. It just gets better. Oh no, he's also splashing black for removal, tragic slip and whatnot.
Liberating Souls?
What is that?
That was it was a distress.
Oh.
He is playing, I believe, mono black zombies. I tried to find out what he was playing in a way such as to not tell Brandon exactly what he was playing in case they wanted to keep a secret.
Yeah.
I believe he's playing just swamps in there, but
I mean, after the third swamp and a Sign in Blood, you're not going to play that. I'd hope you would not play that in something that's not.
And then
He's
so
going crazy there.
So he drops Brandon to 16, right? And down to 18 himself off the Sign in Blood. Cavern, naming squirrels. And a Lord. Alec is playing with the crispness that indicates he may have played this deck once or twice before. That Lord is a very interesting card. I guess when you're playing mono black, then you have room for it. It's a good card.
Full Blood Artist.
Okay.
Oh.
So Angel blocks. So he's going to take 2. He's going to go down to 9. While Alec goes back up to 20. So the only thing better than Blood Artists is 2 Blood Artists, right? There's some actual incidental hate from that.
Revenge of the Hunted. What's up, bro?
But it can't. It's not as good as it could be because while he's going to get in for 9, he's not going to be able to summarily destroy his whole board because he can't.
Yeah.
It can't force them to attack if they can't legally block, right? It forces everything to block it, doesn't it?
Does it not?
I think so.
But it won't force the Blood Artist?
Well, because they don't fly. I don't think it will allow that breaking of the
Okay.
rules.
Well, I know there were some that when it forces to block it, disregards whether they can or can't. Like
That's a very interesting card. I'm not sure how I feel about it.
With the Revenge.
Hmm.
See, the funny thing that Brandon's mentioned to me before is like he used to play aggro decks all the time, and how has not had good luck with them ever since. I don't know, since he started playing.
He plays a different deck every week, so he tries slipping.
No room.
Yeah, that would be enough because with Blood Artist triggers and the alpha attack. Yeah, it's that weird point that Zombies gets to with the Blood Artist that you can't block because you'll die to Blood Artist triggers, but if you don't block, you'll just die to regular damage. So.
Well, see, the funny thing is, it's kind of like Bloodseeker in the same situation that Max Turner was in.
Yeah,
You can just die if you play a creature.
Yes, when you're calling back to our was it first week of broadcasting in
That's
which
true.
that's fun for the archives. Go to round 3 of the first week that was on August 31st, and there's a game in which a player has 4 Bloodseekers on the table. So that happened. That's a thing that happened at Lost Legion Games and Comics. So, but yeah, it was the same. Although this is a little bit more tier 1 example of that. I mean, you do get to that point where if you block, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we were talking about before with Vraska, the new Planeswalker, with their +1 ability, which mimics No Mercy, the old card from Urza's Legacy. I think Urza's Legacy.
Yeah.
But if a creature does damage to you, destroy it. So then it's like, well, I want to attack and kill that thing because it's going to vindicate every turn.
Yeah.
But when I do, I lose all my dudes. So these are very interesting cards. Bloodseeker, I've said before, it's one of the most innocuous yet powerful cards.
Bloodseeker or Blood Artist?
What did I say?
You said Bloodseeker, and
I said the wrong one.
what gives...
We were talking about this before, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
As the chat room reminded us, you can get 2 for 1s because Acidic Slime is still in the format. That's a very legitimate card that's going to get played. Although it would be interesting to see how that gets played with the lack of Green Sun Zenith. I've already talked about states, right?
Well, I guess...
Oh, lean your head out and go out there and find out who won the rock, paper, scissors. This is the most important question we'll ask all night. Who won the rock,
They
paper?
probably rolled dice. Like noobs.
No, I made them. I made them.
Okay.
No noobs are allowed. Paper Tiger mounting
They looked at me like I was crazy.
Well, you know why? It's because you are crazy. It's not directly your fault, as we see Paper Tiger take a considerable lead in the race war. I don't know.
Lizard's just trailing.
Well, here's the thing. Lizard jumped out to an early lead, 2-0 last week.
But as Rock Lobster has been gaining ground,
Scissors
becomes Paper Tiger, the better metagame decision.
Scissors Lizard is becoming kind of passé. It's
Well, people will start dismantling their sideboards for Lizards, and then you can just be the rogue deck.
I'm starting to wonder how long we can go to that comedy well by you reusing the
I think we can go to it an infinite number of times.
Literally,
because nobody's going to see it twice.
1 billion.
These are how memes are born. Poorly done.
That is very interesting. I will try my best to do it, although I suck at technology. But there was, I was watching the Matt Kranstuber's Q draft on Tuesday. Did you look at that at all? The one I sent you a link to?
Yeah.
It's pretty. I mean, that guy's like one of the leading Q, theorists in the world and stuff, and he has a pretty good setup there. And did you watch the actual draft?
I saw some of it.
Okay, at the end of the draft, did you see the guy get past Umezawa Jite and then pass it?
Yeah.
And everyone was like,
Everybody
that's so
was
wrong.
like, what?
And then the one guy said, well, watch what happens when he passes it to the next guy. Because you could see the other guy's reaction, his opponent, like the guy he's passing to, he was sitting directly across from him, so you could see his face. And they pass him the pack, and literally the guy just looks at him with this like dumbfounded look. Like it wasn't playful, it wasn't like malicious, he wasn't making a joke. He was just flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Like, you saw this card and you didn't take it?
Yeah.
So I want to cut that into an animated GIF. You passed what?
He had no words.
Yeah. But
You could just use it on the show every week.
I have one meme.
Now I want to know where this meme came from, because you all were watching the video earlier, and I didn't.
The bonfire.
This came from the second round on the second day of the World Magic Cup. This is Team USA on the left, Brian Kibler, Luis Scott Vargas, John Panache or something. I don't remember what the other 2 gentlemen's names are. But Brian Kibler is playing in this match. It's a team constructed round. So he's playing the Innistrad block. There was a modern and a standard deck.
I've watched. I didn't watch USA's. I didn't know that this happened.
Okay, so this was the last game that came down to the Innistrad block match. Kibler had fought back. He was going to win on board. He had been using Olivia to destroy. Everyone played the same Jund Innistrad block deck. It was the same deck. Everyone played. And so the Chinese Taipei who went on to win it, they were dead on board. Miracle Bonfire off the top, win the game. And then look at this face of these guys. So it's been making their rounds as as a internet meme.
This is why miracles are miraculous.
They're awful. We've talked about this before. Like, I don't like, it's not like one specific card. I don't hate Bonfire more than I hate any of the other ones.
Well, the mechanic as a whole was very...
I understand why thematically it's cool, and I understand that it does add some variance to the game, which would like be very attractive to casual players, especially new players.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it's really frustrating to watch like a higher level event where someone wins because their deck was just very friendly to them. I mean, you're going to be top decking it at some point over the course of every game, but it's just very frustrating when it's that specific.
Well, I'll bring you back to something you mentioned earlier in a not very similar topic, but we were mentioning Worldfire before and Commander, and it's like if you build this board state and you both have been spending all this time playing an actual game of Magic, and then it comes down to something that's really not you playing the game of Magic, you're just tapping cards and going, I win, or pressing a button and saying, well, good game, like you don't have to really play around.
Which is why they recently banned Worldfire in EDH.
Yeah.
So this game, while we were talking, this game's over. I don't know if you saw that, but that was the Sign in Blood targeting you for the win.
Oh, nice.
So this is the point in the evening where Brandon Hart is very excited that he chopped to try and draw into the top 8 because he just got demolished. But that is what happens when you play a very aggressive deck like Zombies.
And it's only going to get more aggressive in the next format.
It is not going to get less aggressive. You're correct.
But now they've got a bunch of graveyard hate, which I don't know how well it's going to play in because they've got the new Rest in Peace that exiles the whole graveyard.
There's a very good.
So, I mean, that's going to shut down grave crawlers. It's going to turn off Undying. But it's not going to stop the initial effectiveness of the creatures.
Yeah.
Product placement.
Brief promo for Orange Crush. I'm running good tonight because I was going to get Mountain Dew. Boring. But then Jeremy Bales pointed out there was 2 Orange Crushes stuck in the back of the cooler. So more spoilers. What do you say?
Let's do it.
We talked about these. Those are boring.
Yeah.
We talked about these last week, right?
Yeah.
I don't really want to talk about them too much because once those guys finish, I do want to play some Legacy out there. That sounds like a good idea.
Okay. Sphinx's Revelation, amazing.
It's a good card. It's a good high-end card for the blue-white deck. You might just play one of them, but that might be the only one you need. Centaur Healer, I think, is just
solid.
A pretty good guy. I think it's going to dominate Limited. I'm very excited about this Ash Zealot. I think that might be... If there's a red deck to be played, I don't know if there is. I haven't actually gone down and amassed the cards to see. The problem with the red deck is, like, the red deck currently doesn't have a Lightning Bolt.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at last time red deck wins was like a tier 1. It had Stagger Shock. It had Searing Blaze. It had Lightning Bolt.
Yeah.
I mean, you had so much... It had Burst Lightning. Those 4 cards, all from Zendikar block, gave you so much reach.
And right now, it also has to fight through Restoration Angels, which are going to block almost all its stuff.
Yes, and Undying Creatures, which 2 for 1 all of your stuff.
Yeah, which your burn's not going to get rid of them unless you want to go give up a 2 for 1 advantage. And Thragtusk. Thragtusk is a huge problem.
Well, I mean, Thragtusk is not as bad in the sense that you can race a 5-drop.
Yeah.
But it's a card like Strangleroot, guys. It's a card like, Gerald's Messenger or something that just gets in the way.
Yeah.
And actually right now one of the cards that keeps mono red down, to be quite honest, I think is Blade Splicer. I mean, all these green decks, go with turn 1 mana accelerant into turn 2 Blade Splicer, and then you can't attack profitably through it.
Well, what about Blood Artist? I mentioned that earlier. That's gaining in life too and making you lose life.
But I mean, at least a Blood Artist, you're playing a red deck that should have a copious amount of answers to kill it.
Yeah, and you only have to deal with it one time.
Yes, it's the constant card advantage that, I mean, red decks have always had a problem with resource management, and now you're not only fighting your own depletion of resources, but their resources are seemingly infinite. Yeah. But I mean, it could come back, and I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. Now let's talk about some cards that have been spoiled this week. Specifically, we'll get to Michael's favorite card, which is Golgari Charm. Or I don't know if we'll see what you think about it, but you're waiting for it for a long time. First, let's talk about some thematics. We talked about last week Desecration Angel, or at least the fact that it exists, because we talked about how basically it outclasses Abyssal Persecutor. Rakdos, Lord of Riots, almost does the same thing. There's going to be 2 black-based 4-drops that are 6/6 with slight drawbacks is the word I was looking for. But
And Rakdos' drawback, I don't think it's terrible. It's basically the equivalent of Bloodthirst. I mean,
But if you're, it's a drawback in the sense that there are going to be situations where you can't play it.
Yeah.
But if in the deck, in the thematics of the deck that you're putting it in, if you should be able to do some point of damage at some point. You know, it's also loss of life, which I think is important too, because you know you can. I mean, it's a corner case, but if, let's say, they activate their own Underworld, whatever it was, what was it?
Underworld Connections.
Yeah, or if they pay,
turn,
they cast, they're not going to cast Sign in Blood, but if they do something like that, that will also trigger that. But, I mean, he's just a big dude. He flies and he tramples, so he's a 4-drop that has evasion and trample, which is enormous. And the creature scales cost 1 less to pay for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. So there is a possibility of, I haven't really looked at the artifact creatures that are good, but I mean...
you mean none of them?
Yeah, we just had an entire block of them, so I don't think it's that big a deal. But, so anyway...
I'd say look at stuff like, maybe not specifically, but like Whistle Red or something with a fat,
Sure.
like, colorless little block you can knock out.
You might even think about, is this the kind of card that you could reanimate? You know, because obviously the reanimate, the drawback, reanimating gets around. So I don't know, but it's I don't know how it might see constructed play. I mean, it's a good body. I just don't know if that deck's going to be. I don't think you're really going to be playing it in a zombies list. If you're going to play green cards, you're not going to get double red out of it.
No.
But there might be a deck specifically for it. But I think it's an EDH card for sure.
Yeah.
It's one of those EDH decks where the general damage comes into play big time. But it should be interesting. It's a cool thematic card. It's cool that, he has his own guild. Might as well have his own card, right? So
The reducing the cost of your creatures is going to be pretty relevant in EDH too. I mean, if you can do enough damage spread amongst your opponents with something that hits everybody for 2-3 damage, and just drop like an Eldrazi for free, that seems pretty good.
That does seem pretty good, because it says opponents. This is one of those classic cards that if you read it, if you look at it in a 2-player environment, you think one thing, but then when you realize cards that say your opponents or each opponent, so that's a very good thing. You could cast in a Sanguinate for however many, and then cast a free Ulamog or something. Yeah. You build that deck and give back to me. Let me know how it goes. The next card I'm very excited about, which is Rest in Peace. I think this is going to be another card like Abrupt Decay that's going to see play in every format. I mean, this is your number 1 hoser in Legacy for your graveyard-based mechanics. The problem with Leyline of the Void was always, if you didn't have it on turn 0...
then it didn't come out till turn 3 or 4.
Yeah, and then they already have a graveyard in play. Rest in Peace is the best of both worlds. It's Torment's Crypt and Leyline of the Void. And it only costs 2 mana, and it's played in a color that is very prevalent in Legacy. More so than that, I mean, even in Standard, in Modern for that matter, I mean, look at all the cards that it has a favorable interaction with. I mean, Grave Crawlers, all the Scavenge creatures from the new set,
Anything with flashback.
Any of the Undying creatures as well. Stranger Root Geist dies, it's just 2 for 1 now. So this is the kind of card that you could... This is almost the kind of card that you could main board. I don't see why you wouldn't, if you're playing a blue-white control deck or a white-based control deck. I don't see why you wouldn't play one of these. Yeah. At least.
Well, also Frights. Frights becomes a
right.
deck and stays a deck.
I mean, if you look at all the decks that are just in the early discussion of decks that you expect to see, Frights is one of them. Green-based decks that have Strangle Roots in them, and zombies. Yeah. I mean, these are all decks that we expect to see.
I would say zombies is the biggest thing.
Right.
That's just everybody wants to run it.
Right. And this card shuts it down. It doesn't shut it down. You have to deal with the front side of all those creatures. But Jarl's Messenger is not nearly as good if it doesn't come back. And Gravecrawler, Lotlook Troll is not nearly as good if you can't discard for.
Yeah.
It's only good once you discard and make it huge. But if you have to discard for no value.
Yeah, and then they just bounce it or something, and you've been like, oh well, that was a great little.
Right. So I think that's going to be pretty big. I don't think financially it's going to be worth that much, but it's the kind of card that's going to show up in a lot of decks, and it's pretty cool to see. And finally, You waited a long time, Michael. You got your Golgari charm. So our modes are every creature gets -1/-1. What is the card from M13 that does that?
Cower and Fear.
Cower
and Fear. So
Cower and Fear is a one-sided effect. It only hits your opponent.
okay. So this is all creatures. Second is erase or demystify, and then its third ability is regenerate each creature you control. So, having seen the card as it came out,
I mean, it's not quite what I'd hoped for, but it's definitely good.
although to be fair, you had hoped for a card where one of the modes was unearth,
Yeah.
which I think is probably a little greedy.
I would have been very happy with that, but
one mode is no mercy, one card is
if that was the only mode on it, I would have been fine.
which is unearth. If they just reprinted unearth and
Yeah.
called it Golgari Charm.
I was kind of hoping for some sort of a raised dead maybe, something to where you'll always get some use out of it. Like the -1/-1, it really depends on how many 1 toughness creatures are seeing play. And as we were talking about earlier, I think the first aggro zombies out of the gate are going to be, throwing a lot of 2 toughness creatures at you early on, so it's not really going to help there. The regenerate each creature you control, that could be relevant against Bonfire, but I'm pretty sure it still works this way. If you regenerate your creature, it gets tapped. So, I mean, they're still taking away all your blockers and swinging
I think
in.
it's best against the Supreme Verdict.
Supreme Verdict.
It's basically a
it'll be good against.
counterspell out of the... I think this is clearly a sideboard card.
Yeah.
Whereas some of the other cards, I think the Izzet card is probably a main board card if you find the right deck for it. This is clearly a...
Yeah, I am very happy to see the Destroy Target enchantment on there. That's one thing I expected it to have, and I'm glad it does, because the kind of decks that are going to want to play this in their sideboard are probably going to be the black-green zombie decks, and they're not going to want to see Curse of Death's Hold on the other side.
They're also not going to see it Rest in Peace.
Yeah,
So
they're not gonna see
I
Rest in
think
Peace
these
either.
2 cards on the end here, Golgari Charm and Rest in Peace, are probably going to have
I
themselves
think
a couple fights.
between Golgari Charm and Abrupt Decay, I don't think Rest in Peace will be that big a deal for the black-green zombie decks.
No. But it could, I mean, it does have that Torment's Crypt effect where it is taking cards away, so that would be
So even if it gets removed,
Yeah,
you've already done your damage.
Yeah, at worst case, it's a 2-mana Torment Script, but it is nice that they they provided an answer. Why don't we step out here, take a break? I'm going to remind everyone where they can watch this stuff offline. You can watch it on Twitch and YouTube. Once I dim that. So if you're watching the live stream, obviously you know where that is, but you can watch all of the archive footage every time we've ever done this on YouTube. There's the information. Just search for Zach Sells Magic, you'll find it. If you're watching this archived on YouTube, then you should follow us on Twitch and watch it whenever we go live. And as I said earlier, if you follow us or subscribe to either of those sites, they will send you an email alert anytime we go live, which is very useful. So definitely take advantage of that. Jordan, you taking off?
No, I was just moving out here. I'll have to keep a backpack on me.
Okay. We'll take a break here and go see if we can find somebody to